While members of the LGBT community are increasingly finding mainstream acceptance in American society and in the sports world, men's professional sports continues to boast few openly gay athletes. A number of victories have been achieved over the years, such as the drafting of openly gay NFL hopeful Michael Sam by the St. Louis Rams and the coming out by NBA center Jason Collins and professional soccer star Robbie Rogers. But just how far has the sports world really come in terms of LGBT equality? In his new book, Fair Play, How LGBT Athletes Are Claiming Their Rightful Place in Sports, Sid Ziegler looks at key moments that have transformed sports for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered athletes today. And he joins me now to talk about it. Sid, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Sid, let me start by asking you, I've been informed that you yourself made sports history when you and a small group of cohorts started the gay and lesbian flag football team here in New York. Is that right?
We did. We won 3 straight gay Super Bowls, so we were the first team to do that. I don't know. I wonder where you got that.
Well, a lot of people are very happy about that league. Thank you for starting it. Now, to your book, what motivated you to write it? What mission do you hope to accomplish with it?
I think there's still a major misconception in America that sports are a place where LGBT people are not welcome. And my main purpose was to show that we LGBT athletes and coaches are really finding a place in sports. They're finding a lot of acceptance, particularly among other athletes and other coaches, but also to show where, particularly in professional sports, the guys in suits, the owners and general managers and league commissioners can really do a lot of good, and how they can take proactive steps to really kind of finally blow open the closet door of sports.
Well, you know, Branch Rickey, the famous Branch Rickey, was the general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers who hired Jackie Robinson, thereby breaking the color line. Why isn't there a Branch Rickey today in professional sports to break the LGBT line?
Sure. Well, you know, Branch Rickey was a general manager, and he just decided he was going to integrate baseball in 1947, and he did just that. I think that the reason you haven't seen a team owner or a general manager in one of the big pro sports do that is really go find an LGBT athlete and bring them onto their team, is because they don't really know how. I think that we're told that your sexual orientation is such an important secret to you that I think they fear going and trying to find someone who hasn't revealed that secret. So I think that's the biggest reason. They just don't know how to do it.
So how do they do it?
There are so many people in and around professional sports, Wade Davis in the NFL, Jason Collins in the NBA, Billy Beane in Major League Baseball, who work with a lot of these guys and who know who they are, and working through them to figure out a way that the leagues and the teams can really support these people in coming out, not outing them, but support them in their coming out process personally and publicly. I think that's the most important step they can take.
So that's what needs to happen in the front office. But how are things in the locker rooms? You know, sports, men's sports, has notoriously been a very macho world. How are teammates responding to gay teammates? Do you know?
Well, in the 16 years that Jim Basinski and I have been running Outsports.com, we have heard only one negative coming out story of an athlete, and that was because his coach outed him to his family. Every other story that we've heard has been nothing but embraced by teammates and coaches. People want to win in sports, and when you've been with someone in the locker room for months or years, you get to know them as a person, not just their sexual orientation. And I think that's the biggest piece, that because most people get to know someone before they know who they're sleeping with, that it kind of it smooths out the coming out process in the locker room, because they don't view them as something different. They view them as a teammate first.
What about the fans? Any obstacles with the fans?
You know, for the last 15 years, every single poll of fans that's been taken has shown a vast majority, that is 75% plus of fans, and this is even dating back to 15 years ago, say they would support an openly gay player on their favorite team. But what's interesting is that 75% of them also say that the guy sitting next to them in the stands wouldn't support an openly gay athlete on their team. the vast majority of fans are totally okay with it, but we also think that everyone else isn't okay with it. So that's kind of the dynamic that athletes have to deal with. There's just this perception that fans are a problem, and they're really not.
And you talk about dynamics, and you're right in your book that there's a different kind of dynamic when it comes to women in sports that there is with men in sports, that in fact the stereotypical assumption by many fans is that women, say in professional college basketball, are lesbians. How does this play into the whole LGBT equality in sports?
I think one of the things you have to understand is that it is not easy being an out lesbian or coming out in women's sports. Expressing who you are is a real journey that everyone, whether you're a man or woman in sports, goes through. But from what I've been told from women in sports, take women's college basketball. I say this in the book. Anywhere from a third to 75% of the women's college basketball coaches are somewhere along the LGBT spectrum. That's not me talking. That's the women in basketball have told me that. The fact that there are only 2 out head coaches in women's Division I college basketball tells you how much fear there is. And I think part of it is contributing to that stereotype you talk about. They don't want to contribute to that stereotype. They live with that all their lives. And so I think they're afraid of adding to that. And it is a very, very real fear that they feel.
And what's been the effect of the transitioning of Caitlyn Jenner into the world of sports?
I think the effect that Caitlyn has had on the entire world has been powerful. That show, that TV show, the reality show that is about her, that's broadcast in countries all around the world where, believe it or not, they are not nearly where we are on trans issues in America. We have so many issues. There are so many places that are a lot worse. And Caitlyn is really having a big impact. She's like a worldwide ambassador on trans issues. So I think worldwide she's having an effect. And in the sports world, it was kind of like Michael Sam's coming out and Jason Collins coming out. It started a conversation in places where it had not existed. Professional athletes, most of them probably didn't even know what transgender was. Now they do because of Caitlyn. I think that's super powerful.
So we have less than a minute. How would you generally grade the media in the way that it has covered LGBT issues within the sports world?
It's a good question. The sports media, I'd give them maybe a C+ or B-. I think that when athletes come out, there is a lot of support. But what I don't see enough of is really proactively identifying stories and telling more stories. They're on the ball when a Michael Sam or a Jason Collins or a Caitlyn Jenner comes out. But what they really should be telling is more of the stories of the high school and college athletes who are the Jackie Robinsons of sports. Those are the young men and women who are changing sports on this issue. So I think that their lack of telling those stories is a big problem.
Okay. Well, hopefully this conversation will help in that direction. Sid, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.